if you own Oregon agricultural land, whether it's EFU farmland, rural land, with a creek or ground that's been irrigated for decades, you know, there's a value factor that doesn't appear on your deed. It's not on the county assessor's record. It's not captured in any automated valuation tool. It's your water rights. And on 100-acre Willamette Valley farmland, it could be worth anywhere from, say, $150,000 to $300,000. So, who am I? I'm Al Cronemiller, Oregon land specialist at MORE Realty in Salem. You know, my grandfather was the state forester in the 30s and helped bring in tree planting. I started working for my father in the woods at the age of 12, you know, cruising timber, running property lines, building logging roads and that sort of stuff. And water rights has always been sort of a part of the family work in the Willamette Valley for about 3 generations. I've been verifying water rights in Oregon, agricultural listings for like, 20 years or so. I do it on every listing I take before marketing begins. If you have any questions, just give me a call. My number's 503-949-5025. Before you price or list your land. Consultation is free, and I'd love to talk to you. So, the critical fact. Oregon water rights are completely separate from landowner on your deed, recorder's office. The title company doesn't track them. That's because they're administered by the Oregon Water Rights Resource Department, and it's a completely separate state agency. So here's what that means in practice. You can own a parcel with a creek running through it, an old irrigation ditch, and a century-old irrigation history and have no legal right to that water. Or you can own what looks like dry, unirrigated ground and have senior irrigation certificates worth $1,500 to maybe $3,000, per acre. And it sits unrecognized until research. So on 100 acres, that's $150,000 to $300,000 in value. That's no Zillow estimate, and no county assessor model captures anything like that. So, how Oregon water rights work. The prior appropriation concept is unfamiliar to most landowners. I'll say it in sort of a little more plain English. Oregon operates under the prior appropriation doctrine. First in time, first in right. Water rights are allocated by priority date. Older rights take precedence over newer ones when water is scarce. For instance, in a dry year, a senior right holder takes their full allocation. A junior right holder may get nothing. The seniority of a water right matters as much as its existence does. So why a senior Willamette Valley irrigation certificate commands a significantly premium over comparable ground without documented water rights? Well, you can see. So step 1, here's what you do. You search the OWRD database. The Oregon Water Rights Resource Department maintains the water rights information system. So you go to oregon.gov/OWRD, and you search by your township, range, and section for your parcel. That will probably be on your tax statement. Okay, it's a free public search. Anyone can do it. The search will show you any water rights certificates associated with the land in that legal description. So this is the starting point, not the ending point. Okay? What you find there needs to be interpreted and verified. Okay? Verify your certificate status. Okay? Oregon's forfeiture doctrine means water rights that have not been used beneficially for 5 or more consecutive years can be forfeited. So a certificate can appear on the OWRD database and still be in forfeiture proceedings. So verify that any certificate associated with your parcel is in active status, not in forfeiture, not subject to cancellation. Before you rely on water rights as a value component, confirm the certificate is clean. So your third step would be to confirm transferability. One owner to the other. Not all Oregon water rights transfer automatically with the land sale. So some rights, particularly those inside irrigation districts, require separate agreements. District approvals or formal transfer applications or whatever, and it needs to be filled out with the OWRD. So I verify transferability on every agricultural listing before marketing begins. If a buyer discovers, mid-contract that the water rights don't transfer automatically, it creates a serious complication. It's very hard to resolve. So after the purchase and sale agreement is signed, you sort of have it. So verify before listing, not after accepting an offer, all right? Step 4 would be to review the irrigation district obligations. So if your land is within an irrigation district, the district may have assessments or delivery fees or membership obligations that transfer with the land to any new owner. Okay, so know what those obligations are before pricing and before any buyer sees your listing. All right, when water rights are missing or forfeited, it's rough. Land that appears to have water access but lacks documented transferable rights trades at a significant discount to comparable ground that has them, as you very well imagine. So buyers who discover forfeited or non-transferable water rights during due diligence either walk away or they'll negotiate, but the price will be downward. So discovering this after a purchase and sale agreement is executed is one of the more difficult situations in a land transaction. So the solution is to verify before, you do your marketing, not after accepting an offer. So what I do on every listing, well, before I market any Oregon agricultural land, I search the OWRD. I search it by township, range, and section. I verify certificates. I confirm the transferability. I review the irrigation district obligations. It takes a little bit of time. But the alternative, a buyer finding a water right problem in due diligence after an accepted offer, is significantly more expensive for everyone. So if you own Oregon agricultural land, whether it's EFU farmland, whether it's rural property or, it has any water features, or land with a history of irrigation, and you've never had, it specifically verified, having the water rights verified, well, that's the first conversation to have. I will check the parcel through OWRD, verify the certificate status and tell you what you actually have and what it's worth, free, no obligation. Just give me a call. Number's 503-949-5025. Should be on the screen. I'm out. Your sale call, I always answer.